The Colorado River winds its way through Austin, and with its beauty comes purpose. It supplies our drinking water and creates an abundant habitat for wildlife. In 2014, it was ranked in the top 10 for fishing lakes in the U.S. But 7 years later, most anglers no longer fish here. The KVUE Defenders found it's because of a city plan to control a plant that led to a bigger environmental problem. Here's investigative reporter Terry Gruca.
This is an issue we first started reporting on 8 years ago when the city of Austin decided to dump thousands of Asian carp into Lake Austin to help stop an invasive weed from taking over. Hydrilla was a growing problem, and the city thought the carp would get rid of it, and it did, almost too well. The carp ate all the vegetation in the lake, and now years later, following efforts to bring ground cover back to the lake, we're learning not much has changed. When water is your life, it feeds more than your soul.
So I take people out fishing on various lakes in the Austin area. Pretty much anywhere within an hour of Austin is game for me.
As a full-time bass fishing guide, Andrew Miney spends his days on the water, and for years, Lake Austin was a prime destination.
It was one of the best lakes in the entire nation.
Bassmaster named it the 8th best lake for bass fishing in 2014. Award-worthy fish from a clear water lake until an invasive plant called hydrilla threatened to take it over. The city of Austin, with permission from the state, dumped 56,700 sterile grass carp into the lake to eat the hydrilla. Only they ended up eating everything.
When we saw that the vegetation, go from just tons of vegetation to absolutely zero vegetation in the lake in such a short period of time. It was less than a year that we saw all the vegetation in this lake completely disappear.
The fish went with it. With no place to hide and little to eat, the bass population dwindled.
Nature knows better than we do.
For the last 8 years, Brent Bellinger with the city of Austin has been working to bring plant life back, securing vegetation along the shores of Lake Austin.
I have not seen any vegetation yet.
We're still not really seeing much vegetation outside of our cages that we've installed, these herbivore exclusion pens. But we've been expanding the size of those.
We've been kind of ticking along. We've also been doing vegetation surveys, but so far, we're not finding any submerged aquatic vegetation.
Texas Parks and Wildlife encouraged people to fish out the carp, and with help, removed about 2,600 pounds of them. But it's been a slow, costly process. Austin taxpayers paid $217,500 for the carp, and since 2004, the city has spent $940,000 on revegetation efforts at both Lake Austin and Lady Bird Lake.
Everybody hopes it'll rebound as fast as it went away, but that's, usually recovery is longer, slower, and more expensive than, tipping it over to that side.
This winter, the lake showed the first sign of hope. An angler caught a record 13-pound bass out on Lake Austin in January. Texas Parks and Wildlife used that fish to create fingerlings. Crews stocked Lake Austin with 3,900 of them this summer, but it's slow going.
I used to do, probably 80–90% of my trips on this lake. It was so good, but in recent years, I end up doing maybe 6 to 12 trips out here a year, out of the 180 to 200 trips a year I do.
Andrew Miney hasn't caught anything much bigger than a few pounds since 2013. Lake life is a lot like real life. Balance is key.
When you take such a vital, element out of an ecosystem so suddenly and so quickly, it's just going to throw that whole ecosystem out of balance.
So our aim is to take it back there. We created it once, we can do it again.
It's a waiting game to see if this lake will ever be back to its original glory. There are no restrictions on how many carp you can fish out of Lake Austin. The city and Texas Parks and Wildlife are asking for people to help fish them out. You can learn more and read the city's latest vegetation restoration report in this story at KVUE.com. For the KVUE Defenders, I'm Terry Gruca.